So this is our discussion about fundraising in the era of pandemic. We moved our blockchain economic forum online, and now we have 100 times greater impact. We have something like 20,000 views of our videos each day, and our we have 3 to 4 discussions each day, and it takes far less time for us guys to gather and share our views. So I suggest we start from short introductions and insights on the matter. So guys, share your views. What do you think is the opportunity? What kind of pivots do you observe? What kind of investors are investing, and what kind of projects they are looking for? Jean, let's start from you.
Valentin, we don't have Jean.
Okay.
Who are you addressing to?
Okay. Gary, are you there?
Gary Sam, I believe.
Okay. So
yep, Gary, we got you on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep. Can you hear me now? Can you?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. In fact, in the wake of the pandemic, we see that the Federal Reserve has aggressive liquidity measures, and also the resulting market recovery. Both of them have created actually a precarious dynamic, whereby we see the distorted and inflated market recovery will actually need some persistent liquidity support. And in fact, for me, as a 27-year banker, in my banking career, I've never seen such a phenomenon that incredible money supply, massive money supply creation operations will be just weeks after the record stock prices and also the economic boom conditions. And we will visualize that in the next 2 or 3 years, a lot of the governments must have the massive fiscal deficits in order to sustain the liquidity for that. And for that, we see that some implications like systematic risk and also the fiscal deficits. And now the problem is, you see the Federal Reserve will be, printing a lot of money creations in trillions, and then Washington will be spending a lot of trillions. And the problem is, well, how is all the money creation will be allocated, in the market? In fact, from my view, this is some of the arguments. What I'm saying that we, for the group and also myself, we are advocating a gold standard cryptocurrency based on the blockchain technology. And of course, the group is doing that as well. And so this is some of the arguments that I want to put forward to the market. And for the group itself, we already set aside multi-billions for that. And of course, in the wake of the pandemic, in terms of the investment opportunities, and in terms of the new what you call the new reality and how to do the fundraising in terms of the pandemic. My view is that, first of all, from the group's view and also my personal view, the projects need to have certain good purpose for people around the world. Especially in the pandemic, the group, as I mentioned in the previous 2 panel discussions, we already set aside $2 billion just for the pandemic. Of course, part of that is for the humanitarian purpose, but we also will invest in the healthcare, medical in terms of vaccine, and also some projects that can actually realistically bridge the social distance. I'm not just saying about the software like Zoom, whatever, that bridge the social distance. Say in banking finance, what we are looking for bridging the social distance is some of the tools and some of the technology that can enable traditional investment banks like us, like JP Morgan, like Goldman Sachs, like Citibank, like HSBC, to actually serve our investors and the clients better. So this is not just about the social media thing or like the communications or something. So so in this area, we're also looking at projects that have good value, and we invest in that. And also apart from that, as I mentioned, the medical and the healthcare part, we will also invest in that. And in terms of the challenges and the difficulties of the people that are looking for capital, I think the fact is that now we are especially very cautious of spending every penny money. Although we put money on the humanity, but we also look into seriously about the team for the project, the theme for the project, whether it is good for people around the world. So this is something. And of course, the last point I want to make is that we are not a calculative institution. We are not just counting on the ROI, ROA, IRR, etc. The key is that if you have good people, if you have good purpose, we will especially consider investing not just based on the commercial factors or the financial parameters. So this is very key. Over the last two panel discussions, I promise each and every pitcher, you have the passion for your project, you have good purpose for your project, you have good technology for the project, for good of every people around the world. I'm open, and also the group, Swiss Capital Group, we will be open to actually invest in your project. So this is some points I want to share, and because I think there's a challenge for me because my phone actually is almost like running out of battery. So I may set aside for a while. I hope to really charge it up and then come back for the pitching part. Hopefully, okay. So bear with me. I will just leave the stage a little bit. Don't worry, a little bit, because I'm still out there. I want to charge it up. Don't worry about that. And I'm looking forward to investing in each and every project, for upcoming. And I look forward to excellent presentations. Promise me pitches, okay? Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Kylie.
Yeah, so this is I'm Kyle. I'm the moderator for today, and one of the things that we're going to be talking a lot about is fundraising in this era of a pandemic. And from an investment standpoint, I think this is something that's something to be mindful and planned for. We've gone through many waves, ups and downs over the years in various cycles, whether it be in the 2099 and 2000, 2001 to 2008, in years prior before that. And this is something that's very unique because we're seeing it on such a global level. So every industry, every country, every person, every business is affected very differently, or in some cases very similar across the board. Is what comes next is very unknown. And so one of the things that we're going to talk a lot about today here amongst all of us is how to prepare for that, how to prepare for if and when this may happen again, but also what opportunities are out there, both from an investment standpoint and a building standpoint. If you are an entrepreneur, what to do to be prepared going forward in the next 3, 6, 12 plus months. And then as an investor, what opportunities should you be looking for in these both private and public markets in new and arising and emerging technologies as well.
Okay, Benjamin, what's your take?
Well, I thought it would make sense for me to introduce myself. I don't know who on the air knows me. I'm Ben Narasin. I'm a venture partner at NEA, a New Enterprise Associates. It's the largest venture firm in the world. About 1,000 portfolio companies invested in over the last 40 years. And I know we'll have a robust dialogue through Kyle's moderation soon, but the overall right now is that I think you've had 3 stages for venture firms. At least US venture firms. The first was making sure the team was safe and healthy. NEA was probably the very first firm I ever saw to institute work from home and eliminate travel. Actually, I was seriously considering fighting against it, and I'm so glad I didn't, and I'm so proud of our team because we were sort of 3 or 4 weeks before most people instituted that. But first, you got to take care of your team. Second, and immediately after, you got to take care of your portfolio, make sure people are in the optimal position. And it's only just now that people have started to be able to look at what the opportunity looks like going forward. There will be an enormous amount of opportunity. Every dislocation creates it. I was an entrepreneur for 25 years. I started my first business on Black Monday, which was 22.5% down on the Dow. But I found a lot of silver linings, and that business succeeded. I ran an internet company I took public during the bubble. That bubble burst, but we made it through that. These are challenging times, but people will make it through. It'll be a Darwinian process, and the strongest companies will come out of it. And I guess the one primary point I would make is that people are already starting to look at investments again, and these sort of dislocations will create a wellspring of new ideas and new entrepreneurs. And I'm pretty excited to see what comes out of the new ideas that are spawned and in this pitch competition.
Benjamin, what do you think about new type of investors, those who were not able to access startups, those who do not have connections with angel networks to originate deals? I'm talking about high net worth individuals, top managers, those who have some insights in a particular market. They know client pains and they can judge what kind of technology and team can make a product market fit, but they were not able to invest into them. But now startups are moving to online pitching. Is it in kind of new new market for new type of investors?
Well, firstly, I'd comment that we had a flood of new types of investors coming into the market over the last 6 years. And this was everything from huge hedge funds, private equity shops, mutual funds, high net worth, sovereign nations, ultra high net worths. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years and an investor for half that amount of time. So in the 37 years I've been doing some form of this, I've never seen this much money and these many people. And they've all had to figure out their way to get access. I think the Darwinism of this will also affect those investors. So firstly, of the people that came in, some will stay and some will not. You're already seeing new funds that might have non-conventional LPs, sometimes having challenges securing their base. You have funds that we're trying to raise that are new funds that don't have a history that probably will have some challenges. And you have older funds, so we actually closed a roughly $3.6 billion fund right before all this happened. There's a lot of funds out there, very high quality funds that are out raising, and their LPs may have a lot of other things on their mind for a period of time. I think the interesting point you made, though, is the shift to online pitching. I think there's a pretty aggressive debate, depending on stage, of how realistic it is to make investments through an online only set of meetings. We're close to one, which would be our first. So we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be easier at the seed and pre-seed, where you're betting on a team and a set of ideas, and maybe you can make those deductions from a series of Zooms. And to be honest, many people in the past that took a more casual approach to seed investing were already making decisions on a pretty finite amount of information. I think the larger the check and the later the stage, barring there'll be a barbell. Very early stage, you can do pretty easily by Zoom. Very late stage, you can do pretty easily by Zoom. All the things in the middle where the company is in the formation period of growing and getting revenue from, say, 1 to 10 or 10 to 100, the importance of the humans is so critical. I think it is a little challenging to think about how you do larger checks into a Zoom only set of meetings, but that'll open up opportunities for people that are willing to do so. So I think that's an interesting point.
Ben, question on that though, with going through your first experience of potentially closing an investment in this process, what is maybe some of the feedback you would have for people going through it? Because for the foreseeable future, we may be going through this process. With the entrepreneurs you've interviewed, as we go into a pitch competition here in about 20, 30 minutes, any advice to the entrepreneurs at any stage and what they could or couldn't do, or lessons learned on the investment side?
Well, I think a lot of that is very similar to advice I've always given to entrepreneurs on pitching. I see easily well over 1,000 pitches a year, and I fund 1 or 2 companies. When I was a seed investor, which I was actively for about 8 years, I would see over 1,000 companies a year and fund 7 to 10. So the conversion rate always starts off low. I assume it will be lower in a meeting that is only over a screen, because particularly and I'm speaking now to the very early stage stuff, seed, pre-seed, you are betting on the team. The idea has to be great. The opportunity has to be huge. But at the end of the day, the difference between success and failure is almost always about the team. the tenacity of that team, the willingness to run through walls, as I famously hear from VCs all the time, or break glass, or whatever the famous quote is of the moment. But in terms of tips, I think the most critical, one of the great things about having Zoom, so I used to have a site that I'll probably recreate called Pitch Ben. And Pitch Ben was a little website with an app where you could pitch me in 1 minute on video, and then it would cut you off, and I promised you a 1 minute response. And for the most part, people were really, really good at it. But some of the people really just wandered around and didn't make their point. So my number one point of advice is it's about getting the data to the person, right? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who are you? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How much are you charging? Things like that, like get to the nuts and bolts. The second thing, though, that's almost as important, you do have to build a relationship. So remember that for the most part, all my companies have been driven on the back of sales. And so sales has been sort of job one for me in every business I've ever had. And I learned something a long time ago. The purpose of what was then phone call, and now will be Zoom or email, isn't to make the sale, it's to get the next meeting. So the purpose of your first pitch isn't to get the money. It's incredibly rare for somebody to see a pitch in 3 minutes or 10 and say, oh, here's some money. I mean, by the way, I've never done that. I don't plan on ever doing that. And maybe, Valentine, to your point, some of the new investors, that'll be a way to get deal flow. And I don't say that in a negative way. Sometimes what you have to do to get deal flow is be the guy or gal that puts the money up on a substandard amount of information to get the ball rolling. But if you can give me enough information, which you can, by the way, in 1 minute or 3 minute or a 10-minute pitch, then I'm going to decide whether or not to go to the next level. Final point would be, I can't make an investment in a meeting. I can only say no, or I want to spend more time with you. And so think of building the relationship through the fact that you give me or any investor enough information to decide if they're intrigued by what you're doing. And if they are, look for the next opportunity to build that relationship and assume it's going to take quite a few of those before you get to a wire.
Thanks a lot. Henny side, what's your take? Tess?
Oh, hi.
Yes,
sorry. Thank you. So thank you, everyone. Very honored to be here again. And myself, I have been a serial entrepreneur. So without the investing hat, fundamentally, I am someone that loves building companies. So I started a company when I was an undergrad and had some, very good success with it. So what I decided to do after having a good, I would say, experience such early on, I decided to start my own investing platform. So that's when I decided to come to Silicon Valley and learn from the best, mentors here, from the best, ecosystem here, and had spent some time at Stanford University. So from there, I was able to understand, I think my strength was in early stage investing because I can add the most value. And that's where the journey of building relationship with the founders is most critical. And in that sense, I believe in being a proactive investor and being able to help complement the team that I decide after diligence to invest in. And largely what it is if you find that there is, a gap where your strength is, where you can add the most value, that's typically some of the best investments that I found, because truly you can, magnify and amplify the team's success. And I definitely agree with, what the other panelists and speakers here have shared, that especially at early stage, it's about the founding team. And that's where, in my own experience, I first, even as an investor, try to add value to the potential startup and the founding team that I believe is the one that I actively will be spending quite a lot of my time, not only after investment, but advising and opening up my network. So after the diligence with these team members, I think it's very important that you also figure out where it is that you can help give them that unfair advantage. So in my sense, I've been very lucky with, operating a company at such a early age, then later investing in the last 15 years. I've had already a couple of successes, and I'm very happy to share they typically have been in different areas, different industries, because at the end of the day, investing at early stage is about the founding team. So for myself, I am sector agnostic, but focus on stage, which is early. I would invest in pre-seed, seed, post-seed, pre-A, and sometimes opportunistically, later stage. With my, exits, which I had invested in different entities, there was one where, it was VR, because at that time, that was what was most budding in terms of the founders and startups and the ecosystem had come about a lot of these kind of companies. So in today's pandemic situation, obviously there's going to be companies coming out to solve the pain points. Another company was in, construction tech, which was also, a timeless need, but it also depended on the ecosystem of where the technology was able to allow retailers and enterprises, come about. Another company that also had a, exit, an acquisition was in biotech. And that largely is because of a personal, cause of one of my closest family member being diagnosed with cancer. So in my, own experience, everything that I want to be contributing and being an impact player in, whether it's advising or investing, had come from a pain point. And a lot of that, I was able to, see the need and see the potential solutions. And, last one of them was, through another entity that I had structured and invested in was a SaaS startup. So I think, for myself, if I were a founder, I think being able to tap into, great investors, such as some of the ones, here on this panel, and, platforms that give access to that is critical. I would say that, for myself, I, fast forward to today, would focus on my own investing in 4 areas. So there's 4 pillars. One of them is in fintech and in reg tech. Regulation tech, which I feel is quite critical because authentication, privacy, compliance, and then eventually managing user identity has been something that has been actually very focused on before the pandemic, which I think is largely needed because of the misuse of information and user information that was happening in the world. So one of the companies I invested in exactly is solving this problem. And, I believe that, the founders essentially did pass my diligence with flying colors. And I also was able to add value, in this particular company that was able to amplify them. And, they focus on biometrics, also compliance in a box because of GDPR and CCPA and other areas of compliance that, this team has been able to see and also have strong execution on. And then largely also on emerging markets is another area that I focus on. And, startups that I can help bridge with my experience and also my network of experience that can help lend a value. And of course, female related initiatives where simply if the leadership team has a female, I am happy to support that because I think, they add a lot of, strong, dimension and also strong horsepower and perspective to the team. And, largely, of course, health is something that is very important, whether it's, actually health, physical, medical related, which, are coming up in this period of need, and also in mental health or just the health of the relationship aspect. So, all these are, my current core focus in fintech area. But, again, in the early stage, it's about the founding team. So I'm happy to share more as we move forward on this, but I want to just pause here.
So big funds are moving to online screening and probably even investing, and potentially the new type of investors coming into the market. And there is an issue how to understand the team, how to understand if they can break the walls. Henny side, what do you think about this online screening and due diligence and understanding the team?
Yeah, I'll start with a little bit of background on myself as well. I based here in Southern California. Hi, everybody. Nice to get a chance to be on a panel with all of you. My background has been in private equity and venture for the last 10 plus years. I was in Dubai from 2007 through 15. Kind of my early thinking around venture and cross-border venture was through there. Part of a US and European team that was set up by some of the more prominent groups in the region. And pretty much everyone was coming into the region to look for money. We got to meet with them and speak with them. And some of the early thinking I had was the team went to the UAE. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the UAE, but it's, a hub for the broader region. It's a very diverse place and it's pretty accessible. So I went out there. We were looking at doing cross-border venture. So the idea was to bring Silicon Valley-backed companies where we have relationships in the valley to come there. At that time, there was a lot of companies that were coming out of the region that weren't able to get any capital because no one thought that there was any real value. And so, just recently, a few different companies have become unicorns out of the region. And so I came back to the US in 2015 to do a cross-border venture platform. A fund or an investment company. It was kind of open TBD. Got involved with a few different companies that are quite interesting, but ultimately the idea was not to be a VC, but to partner with VCs and private equity firms to take their companies to international markets. With the basic thesis was that if we could set up the next Uber before they would go on to a much later stage, the assets in international markets would be valued at those multiples. So in places like the Middle East and Africa, where valuations were a bit depressed compared to Asia, with China and India, there was opportunities around talent, arbitrage opportunities around talent, capital, and markets. And so that was a basic thesis. And so I came back, like I said, in 2015, so was working on a various number of projects. One of them was a company that, so I think on this panel I'm a bit unique in that I have one of the companies we incubated has turned out to be really well positioned to deal with the current situation. It's a company that launched the first online undergraduate business curriculum with the top 20 ranked business school, which is UCLA. And up until 3 weeks ago, UCLA was the only tier 1 school that had an undergraduate curriculum, and now everyone else is online. So so from my perspective, I think I have a unique experience both in terms of a very recent founder over the last 18 months, and then with a background in private equity and venture. But to your question in terms of online screening, I agree with Ben that there's a great opportunity now to have conversations, and as imagine with all of you over the last 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, whatever it's been. I have a bunch of friends who are in very different stages of whether they're on the investment side or on the founder side, who are really, really affected by all of this. Very few are or I would say that at least of my network, are well positioned. Many are really concerned about, whether they can survive past this next 3 months, 6 months. And so the one thing I think, in addition to screening for capital, I do think the one opportunity, and what I've been telling any startup and anyone will see on this panel and the pitch, is that the one thing we actually have control over is biz dev. We're in a unique time in the world where everyone's accessible, everyone's working 12, 15 hours a day. And so I think you can get access to people, hopefully to drive some revenue where you maybe not plan to initially, and maybe that will give you some more of a run rate and further validation. And the common thought is to, okay, we can pivot, but I think you have to be very careful in doing that. I do think where I don't think it's a pivot when you kind of just accelerate revenue opportunities. And so that would be, I think, one of the areas. So in addition to your question about screening, I think that's just creating greater access. And, I think you can have those initial calls, and those are very helpful for the founder. And then secondarily, I do think you can actually try to look at kind of revenue, which furthers your chances of, securing funding when you can.
Hey, Haney, question about that. So
Yep.
revenue, I mean, on the public market side, you have companies pulling guidance for the rest of the year. On the private side, you've got companies kind of going in two different directions, right? Some of them it's exploding revenue in ways that they've never seen before. I have portfolio companies that are seeing massive growth they did not even expect in any case, right? So financials are just completely out of the window. In other cases, no one knows what's going to happen to their industry, so those finances have gone. How are you looking at revenue slightly differently now than call it January, as these expectations have changed?
So I mean, I think the thing you have to look at is it one, you know, has a company just benefited from a crisis situation that we're in? I was in a travel technology company at 9/11. I only applied to business schools in New York because I was setting up our offices there. And I was going to be in New York on September 14th. So that company was the first company in the world to actually have a discounted fare booking engine. 9/11 pushed us back 6 months and everyone caught up. And that was that history. And I think, like I said, sadly, a lot of my friends are kind of worried about at least being in that category. I'm in education. That's where my background is in terms of an expertise. And I don't know how familiar any of you are on the panel with the education space, but there's a real higher ed through K through 12. There's a real question about what's going on and what will happen. I can tell you where I know where that world is they're hoping that will we be back in the fall quarter or fall semester, and this will just be a bad memory, or will we actually have to have online? And like I said, UCLA so the company uses sports to drive academic partnerships. So at elite academic schools, the student athlete is more screwed than Stanford doesn't have an undergraduate program. UCLA, Duke is a one and done basketball, so as an example. So we've actually very cleverly used sports as a way to drive academic partnership and create more compelling business content. That's the business model of that company. But like I said, up until 3 weeks ago, UCLA was the only tier 1 school that actually had an undergraduate program. And now the question will be, as we're having conversations with like some of your portfolio companies, like 20 other schools now, are they looking at this as a one-off that let's put a course on a catalog, or will we now look at one course per department? I think that's where the risk is, and as an investor, and even as a founder, that's that's what I look at. I mean, in terms of revenue, there's a licensing opportunity on some of the things that we're doing that we weren't actually building in our business model. So on one hand, it's opportunistic. On one hand, it's desperately needed in terms of cash. But I think those are the challenges that companies are going to be facing, and I think they should explore them as aggressively as they possibly can. But to your question, though, I think ultimately, like in every sector, education is a great example of that, where we still don't know where it's going to be. I mean, the early ed tech companies talked about a disruption and being the Uber for education. I think that will be there. I think I think the poorly funded private or public institutions that weren't elite academic institutions, they're at a real risk right now, especially ones that are like relying on sports. So it's a really weird thing how unranked or lowerly, non-highly ranked schools rely on the athletic department, and that's shut down for the next 6 months. So I think those are the kinds of concerns and considerations that people should really look at through.
Thank you. So there's a problem to analyze the team, and from the other hand, how the right team would find the right investors. Is there infrastructure to find those who are interested in online pitching, in particular technology area? How the market restructured to meet the new reality? Maria, do you have a view on this?
The line is breaking. Can you please repeat?
How would you advise startups to find investors who are both interested in their technology business model and is active and considering online pitching and online investing?
I got it now. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary, and I represent Minor Capital. We're based in Silicon Valley, but personally based in London. This is a good question. Actually, just yesterday, I attended, let's say, a VR-based event, Level Pro Days, and they had a separate track for investors and startups, purely in VR. So all startups pitched investors from stage, and it was hosted on Engage platform. It was first I used it during the HTC Vive conference. So I think we can say that VR is it's having its second chance right now, and it's showing really good results. So basically, I could say that we're going to see more and more such of events in VR, especially for investors and startups. Of course, right now there are more from VR industry doing different platforms for collaborating in VR. However, during this pandemic, we see an increase in demand for this kind of services. And personally, I believe that even then the COVID era ends, we're going to see a softer attitude towards working from home. So I think those services will be in high demand even years after. So I would say that startups should pay attention to the events, and they should check the event lists on Engage or different other platforms. However, recently I talked to Anderson Horowitz partner, and he talked, even that he focused on hardware. We discussed that hardware startups might use VR so they can do a model of their device, hardware device, using Unity, and they just can upload the 3D model to the platform and demo it like in real life. However, he's focused on hardware. He said that he's not so excited as I was, and he said that the process is still pretty much the same. So you're just reaching out to a VC fund or a partner or LP or whatever, and just with a nice and clear presentation, and you can schedule a Zoom call or wherever and send all materials pre-order that. So different opportunities, and even traditional still working and a new one just appearing. So I think it's just up to a startup.
So a quick question for you, Mary. I noticed you just recently wrote an article around communications and branding during a pandemic. And I wanted to give you a chance to mention that here on the panel, because I think that's something that, while we're talking about investment, we're talking about how to meet investors. There is a very core piece in the middle, and that is marketing and building your brand or communicating your brand out there. What advice do you have to startups that are looking to strengthen their brand, or maybe building a brand from the ground up during a time like this right now, including with your experience at MindRock?
Thank you, Kyle. Actually, this experience, it's in my background. So I'm in PR like for a decade, and I helped different startups from different industries to build their brand and to establish relationships, the media and customers. So during the COVID, I would say that the good option is to rethink your marketing budget. Usually it's really huge because a lot of startups and entrepreneurs, they are betting on paid social, and this is a really costly thing. So now I would say that this should be spent on CRM systems and on content creation. This is a good time to ask your customers, what do they need right now? Maybe you can offer delivery, or you can solve particular problems. So you just need to ask them, like using your CRM system or social media, and building and establishing your relationship with your customers and clients, and spending your money on solving the particular problems, not just throwing away and spending them on social media, paid social, and Instagram and influencers. So this is basically this is in general, and of course it depends pretty much case. It should be done case by case. Kyle?
Great advice. No, I agree. Sorry, there was a delay on my side. I completely agree. You know, in a time like this, being able to realign marketing budgets is going to be very crucial on both the large corporate side, but also the startup side, and looking at new ways to be tactical, as you mentioned. You know, offering new services. We're seeing here in the Bay Area as well. You know, companies that may have never delivered now deliver. You know, and I think that there's ways to kind of enter those new markets very easily by offering additional services that are very turn-onable, turn-offable in those times as well. So thank you, Mary. It's a great question. All right.
So I think there are two more participants didn't share their view, and then Kali, you can run the startup pitch competition.
Sure, absolutely. So Massimiliano, and I apologize, I missaid that already. Thank you. So would love the intro, but also I'd love to get your views on some of your history. I mean, we talked before the show, you know, about our times in Asia, or in the APAC region, and then also your time and experience throughout Europe. You know, would love the intro, but then also, what are you seeing happen in Europe right now on the fundraising side? As just before this pandemic, Europe investment was on the rise for the first time in many years. It was a surging market for the venture side. So would love to get your thoughts and opinion on where that's at.
Yes, thank you for having me. I mean, let me introduce myself. I'm an angel. Have been doing some investment in very early stage, even on paper, I can say, pre-seed and seed stage. I'm raising my first venture capital fund right now. Actually started beginning of the year, after the storm came. So now probably will be a little bit delayed until the end of the year, but of course we'll be there. And again, the fund is going to invest. I mean, I like to invest both software and hardware. So I'm not that only digital, but I'm a big believer also that, you know, hardware is there and always will be. So someone has to invest in hardware as well. And I'm approaching blockchain now, so I'm very welcome to get to a lot of them, because, you know, it's something that absolutely in the future is there and will be extremely important for any kind of business, online and not online, not digital. When it comes to, I mean, I'm happy, I'm glad, because I do advisory as also investing. So when you advise, you have a much bigger picture or what is actually the market is going. So for example, before COVID came, we are doing now, we should close the deal, I hope next month. We start raising a B round in Hong Kong. And again, it's very funny. It's not funny, but you know, you can see how, because COVID started in China, everything stopped very quickly in Asia, and now Asia is back, and we stopped everything in Europe. I mean, I would say I found we advise quite a few startups in early stage, let's say A, B round. That's where we are very good as advisors, and we can see, yes, I mean, we've been talking to so many VCs for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and mostly they always said to me, Max, we need to hold on because we need to understand if the cash we have, we need to put the cash in the startup in our portfolio, avoiding the collapse, and we can't commit money for others. It has been broadly 90% of the answer we had from all the investors worldwide. I'm talking about, you know, the biggest VC between London and the most active, let's say, between London and Europe. And something similar has been in the US as well, because we work, let's say 90%, maybe 70, 80% with US investors as well. And yes, I mean, Europe is slowed a lot, and absolutely a lot. It's understandable, everything is closed. But again, I'm sure we are going to be back. And I'm very very bullish on Europe, because Europe as US, as Israel, for example, but not only. This is a place where education is so high. And when you have this kind of level of education and this kind of level of entrepreneurship, you just need money. And why, I mean, this is very my personal opinion, why Europe is so behind, because it's very behind US, very behind. I mean, I would say even 10, 20 years behind. That's the reality. And I have no problem to say that. And because there's a lack of money. I mean, there is no comparison between how much money you have in the US and how much money do you have in Europe. And an average fund in Europe, I mean, is 20, 50 million. That's one investment in the US. So yes, we improved a lot, absolutely. We had exponentially, I mean, Europe for the last 10 years had done so much, but the gap is still huge. I mean, and when the gap is so huge in terms of cash, and I'm a big believer of execution. I mean, anytime I talk to any entrepreneur, have you done 4 startups in my life? And my first startup was a merchant banking, and I did in 2009. So I mean, worst time ever. But we ended up doing extremely well. I sold the startup in 2014 to move to London because I was living in Milan. But anytime, and I started doing angel just as a pleasure, because my office was big enough, too big for me and for my employees. I had 5 rooms without doing anything, empty. So I started investing my money and having this guy in my office. You know, it's beautiful because you have this brainstorming every day and you share idea. It's absolutely beautiful. But again, I do believe Europe is going to be back, but to be back and to start very much be in line with China, US, which are the absolutely biggest players. We need to have much more money to invest, because in the end of the day, you can have the best idea you want, but if you are underfunded, your execution can be ever the same of a company having 1 million, 1 billion in the account. Today, the company who survive are not the best company, are not the one who has the best team. They're not the one who has the best idea, are the one who has the biggest account. And that's the reality, because, you know, if you don't have the money, if you don't have at least another 6 months runaway, you will die. And this is my opinion. Of course, that's my personal opinion. I can challenge everyone to taste your business, or everyone who are not fully digital, who are not completely online, go online, having, I don't know, 2 months runaway. This is not going to happen. You will bust for sure. And this is, I mean, and it's sad. It's sad. I mean, I've been reading and listening, talking. Many people tell me, you know, the best will survive. I don't call them the best. I call them the most well-funded.
Well, in that case, quick question for you is, again, we spoke about this just before the show. Do you think we're about to enter a period of large M&A activity? I mean,
I do a lot of M&A. I do a lot of private equity. And I think, yes, it's the time. Why not? I mean, I've been approached for the last, since 2 months ago, quite a few startups, they come to me. But again, I don't think in venture capital, we have M&A mentality, okay? I don't think so. It's still very young. And maybe because, I mean, companies are too young. So merger company, when you have almost no revenue, just idea, team, it's very, very complicated. I mean, all the M&A deal we have done, the one who collapsed has been because the lack of culture, the lack of people working together, different mentality, maybe different language. And anyway, merging company that are even backed by venture capital can be even more complicated. But I think, I mean, if the options are survive because you need to merge from for 5, having a 1, or to die, I think you should go to the left and merge. So I do believe a merger can be something that can be approached. I don't know if the venture capital, I mean, as a whole, I mean, startup and backed by venture capital are ready for do something similar.
Yeah. Well, and time will tell, right? I mean, we're about to see a lot of things happen we may not have thought would happen very quickly. And I want to get to our last speaker real quick. So Zhao Chen, welcome. And also, same question to you, kind of where, love the introduction, but also where do you see and how do you see things shaping up? A lot of your background's in fintech and blockchain right now, which is an exploding area similar to Tess and others on the call. But what else are you seeing throughout Asia and elsewhere?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And first off, I think that COVID-19 is really a wake-up call for almost anyone, for government, for public sector, private sector, for investor. And the long-term planning is really important, and also to have risk included in all your planning process is crucial. And with this pandemic, and now no matter if we talk about the government, it's very clear that not many governments are ready to take on that. When we talk about the investment community, the same. And for those who don't have the long-term plan, and then they probably didn't put their assets into, for example, digital learning, digital infrastructure, and all that. And suddenly there is this crazy demand for the online activities. And finally, that's when you just look at your portfolio and you don't have any. And so I think that's critical, that when you are really just planning for your post-COVID-19 portfolio management strategy, and I think have the long-term plan, have the risk into your consideration is crucial. And in terms of the blockchain and fintech space, and in the investment community, and in general, for many think tanks are really debating whether we are going to have a recession or not. And this actually, based on each institution's own understanding or insights, and then your investment strategy will be very, very different. And for some, they really just stopped investment at all. And for others, then this is the best opportunity to just really find the best deal with the lower rate or valuation. And so, based on your, own assessments of the situation, whether we're going to, go into a recession or not, and probably that's, you need to really look at your portfolios and also how to allocate your asset. And another very critical thing is that if you are an asset investor, you're not investing in startup, and you probably also now are looking at, different asset type, for example, Bitcoin and other digital currency as a potential wealth management tool, and there that could potentially drive many of assets into the Bitcoin space if the assessment of the asset owner is that this just generate less risk in the general capital market. But of course, again, it's based on your own assessment. And if you are a venture capitalist or angel investor, and I think this is a very good time for you to just look at your investment strategy in the way that as of now, that's think about COVID-19 is pushing so many people out of job, and which create many more demand from the entrepreneurship group, and many more experts or entrepreneurs, and who are very, very well prepared to becoming entrepreneur, but didn't have the gut to do it. And now that then they are out of job, and suddenly that they are available, and then they have to do something, and then suddenly that we have increased the supply of entrepreneurship and also innovative idea and startups. And then you have to now just say, with my limited investments, and which one I should pick, and what kind of project I should pick, and what will be the startup strategy I should pick. And I think from the startup side, that on one hand, that many of the startup find it's easier for startup to find team members and also to find lower cost of options to just get quality members. But in the meantime, that you are looking at a more critical investment pool, where that's many of the investors becoming more stringent in terms of their investments, and you're competing with a much bigger pool with limited or shrinking investments. So then, how can you just stand out? And also piggyback from the earlier speaker, that if you are really trying to build your product development strategy and the product launching strategy, and I think during the COVID-19 closeout, and the best is really to build your product, build your content, and spend no money to build it if possible. And then when the economy is open up, and then you get yourself, get your team, get your brand already, and then to wait for the next wave of opportunity. But if you really just spend a large portion of your assets or capital into marketing or other type of activities, then you'll find that when the market is open up, and then you actually don't have anything to be left to compete with others. So I think that's also a very important thing to be considered. Lastly, is around the crypto space. That's many of the crypto investors as of now that are expecting the Bitcoin halving, and after that, what could happen, and if really the Bitcoin price can go much higher. And I think for the crypto project, you will have a bigger opportunity to just really harvest that opportunity. But if that's halving didn't really create any expected or meet that expectation, and I think that's for crypto market, it will be a lasting winter or continuing winter. Yeah,
thank you. And I think one thing I want to point out that seems to be across the board is the word risk or risk planning. A lot of companies today haven't had to go through that, and to your point, it is a wake-up call. You've got to be ready for anything, not just slight market changes, but full-blown global shifts in markets. And that now will probably be on the forefront of founders' minds as they go forward, along with investors as they start looking at companies. Ben, I want to give you a chance to say anything else. I know you have to go a few minutes early here, but anything else you added? I mean, we've talked about this as a great opportunity to meet and speak with investors because people are more online than ever. So cold outreach, getting connected is great. At the same time, what to do or what not to do during these meetings, planning for risk, looking at new market opportunities, how to get your brand out there. What else can we add before you head out here?
Sure. Well, actually, this is a good example of it. So I'd booked this for the hour, and there's another Zoom starting immediately after this. So I'd encourage entrepreneurs to understand that anytime you have a meeting lined up, your meeting schedule is probably no different than if it was in person. In fact, it's worse, because when that Zoom starts and there's 6 people waiting for you, you can't really not go. So at 9 o'clock, I'll be signing off as planned. Having said that, I also, if you look, let's see, right above my head over here at the Narasin, I've opened up my Twitter for direct messaging, so that, and that's just for the people that we're going to pitch in this competition, which I'll watch on video afterwards. But also, if you want to DM me, I'm always open to seeing DM pitches. I'm open to pitches in any form. I will say that I will always look, but a failure to respond doesn't mean I didn't see it. It just means there wasn't a fit for me. So it's not that I respond to everything I get over cold email or over DM. It's more, I will absolutely look at it. And then if there's a reason to continue on, I will go forward with that. So I always appreciate the time to see entrepreneurs in any forum. I think all of us need to find ways to make sure we're accessible. It's unfortunate that in these days, a friend of mine said something like people's views get sort of stuck because they only talk to people they already know. And, when it comes to entrepreneurship, I think it's new ideas and new entrepreneurs that give you the ideas that get you excited. So I see that we are literally on the hour. So remember, it's good old, where am I? I'm reversed, at B Narasin, if you want to DM me. And thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Ben. And as Ben signs off, to Ben and also Tess, and a point that she made is, that relationship, building the relationship. Just because you reached out once, and as Ben said, he may not reply, still reach out again as a follow-up to check in and start to build that relationship. Don't expect to check day one. Start to build a relationship, get to know each other, go through this. As Haney mentioned, this could be a little bit longer of a process than what we have typically seen in in-person meetings. As well. So take that with stride in this new era. But to all of our speakers, thank you for all your thoughts and opinions. Super excited, and we're happy to get back to that in just a bit. Want to take a shift of gears here over to the startups that we have. So today is a pitch competition, a roadshow, if you will, and a virtual one at that. So each of our startups will have the chance to pitch for 5 minutes. Our judges here and speakers will have the opportunity to judge each startup on a number of factors, and then afterwards we'll select a winner and provide feedback to each and every one of you. At the same time, there is a global audience that's tuning in, so while you have a few of us here as investors that are listening, remember that there are plenty more out there who may be interested in looking to start building a relationship with you. So with that, I'd like to kick off our very first startup and with our very first founder. Roman, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
All right, Roman, I'm going to turn it over to you. So the president of Sulpizi, and I'll let you go from here. You got 5 minutes on the clock.
Okay, let me share my window Chrome. And this is my deck. So hi, how are you? My name is Roman Martinez. I'm the president of Sulpizi. We are a state-of-the-art financial ecosystem based on blockchain. We've been around for a few years now, but we were in South America. We are going to go live now in the United States and Europe in 2020. And this is the virus actually is very good for us because we've been advocating that businesses needed a new way to pay online and offline that was better than the original credit card systems that we have today. We have a API-based platform application services, and we can deploy anybody's financial infrastructure much better than what they need because we don't have any of the flaws that traditional payment systems have. How do we work? We have flexible technology that is directed to the community. And we offer excellent payment functionality between wallets and bank accounts using the big blockchain network. We offer personalized services, engagements, and integrated rewards and coupons. We focus on security. Sulpizi Bits tokenized blockchain is a very secure and regulation compliance blockchain. The blockchain was created to be a globally connected blockchain for a financial ecosystem, and it has universal access. Basically, what we do is we take away the trust institution, the bank, and we convert that into a tokenized smart contract. So the flow of money goes from the user to the contract to the receiver through our tokens. Our technology does much more than financial transactions. You can create smart contracts, you can buy and sell tokens, you can create marketplaces securely and effectively. Our business model is very simple. We're already live in Venezuela. We went live in January. We have 150,000 users already in there. But our business models, we create properties in every country and with this payment model, and then we use our blockchain for international transactions. We have opportunities in C2P, P2P, P2C payments. We have marketplaces, digital commerce. Strategy is basically to tie up these opportunities in the retail and the commercial sides and through our blockchain and grow around the world with partners in most countries. We have challenges to remain competitive. We need to have the money to grow and take on the Googles, Facebooks, Apples, Libras, but we have already a best-in-class solution and it's operational. Our products go from a Sulpago wallet in your phone, a Sulpago points of sale that can go either in your phone or in your enterprise servers. We have our own Sulpago cards. We have our own mobile applications. So we are ready for the challenge. Our team is comprised by several people, myself, Hernan, Bernardo, Humberto. We have been all around for a long time. We have about a little more than 100 years of experience in banking, financial services, technology, and business. Our blockchain team is comprised of very young but very talented people, and we're ready to make this happen. Where we are now, we have over $2 million invested in a proven market-ready platform. We need about $5 million for the expansion in the US. In the US, we expect to have 115K users year one, 20K retailers year one. We should be cash flow positive 4 months after we launch, minus marketing expenses, and we estimate a gross income of over $3 million on the first year. That's it from my side. If you have any questions, please ask.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Roman. Appreciate it. As I said, we'll get to questions at the end along with some feedback for you as well from each of our judges. Next up, George. Do we have you?
Hi, guys.
Hi, George. So I want to welcome George, the co-founder of the football app. George, the screen is yours.
Okay, guys. You can hear me okay? We've got that working.
Loud and clear.
All right. Happy Friday, everybody. 5 minutes. Our project is called the Football App. The Football App is an app that is a social networking app around football or soccer, for those of you in America. Our users of the app earn free points and our cryptocurrency, the football coin, TFC, which we have implemented. And in turn, our users use that token, TFC, to pay.
George, I'm sorry. Are you showing slides? We don't see them.
No, we're not showing slides. I'm just talking through it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Are we back now?
We're back.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And our users spend those tokens at local businesses. Now, we launched this in September in the small country of Cyprus. And since the launch, in Cyprus alone, we have 40,000 users and 100 businesses that participate. Of course, things are quietened down in the last month because of, COVID-19, but we have more than 20 genres, everything from lawyers to nail salons to bars, restaurants, and of course, some flagship brands like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, internationally, we have now gone to more than 200,000 users. We have some locations internationally. In Southern California, we have a restaurant chain that accepts TFC, the token TFC, and we will see that global expansion. In the 9-month period since we've launched, more than 5 million minutes have been spent in the app. That's on average more than 9 minutes per day. And now we are seeing a natural extension to other partners, and that's notably football clubs or soccer clubs. And we're in discussions with some big professional soccer clubs about making TFC as the exclusive way to buy tickets and merchandise. Now, the pitch, the ask from us is very straightforward. We've launched a few tokens on the LA Token Exchange, 1 million tokens. It's about 20 cents on the tokens. and please feel free to participate there. But do note the value of TFC in the barter system of users to merchant, and the merchant paying us for advertising in the app is €5. So it's a circular economy where all the partners benefit and it grows. Users earn it free in the app. There's games in the app, there's predictions, there's forums, you gain points for all kinds of activities, including inviting other members. They spend it at merchants. The merchants in turn spend it with us in advertising. The only currency we accept for our app is the football coin, our cryptocurrency. That circular economy is growing and all the partners benefit from therein, okay? So just to show you, just 2 slides, that's the graphic of the economy. I guess I should share my screen first. That would be useful, right? Okay. Can you see my screen now, guys?
No.
You can't see it. Okay. Can you see it now?
Mm-hmm.
It says it's showing. Ah, good. All right.
But we don't see your pitch deck.
So that's the representation of the community. It's very straightforward. We want to encourage you to download the app. That's where it's the football app, spelt in the Spanish way. Enjoy the growing community, and please go and buy the football coin, which is, as I say, has been integrated and implemented on the Stellar platform in our app, and it's currently available on the LA token. There are 1 million tokens. Once they're taken up, the market will take over from that. And for sure, as we go forward, we'll be introducing the football coin onto other exchanges and other markets. Happy to take any questions at the end.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, George. That was George with the football app. Next up, Charlie. Do we have you?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep. So Charlie, I want to introduce Charlie, the Chief Operating Officer at Cirrus. Charlie, turn it over to you.
Very good. Can everyone see my screen all right?
Yes.
Yep.
Super. So my name is Charlie Uchel. I am co-founder of Series, blockchain transaction network for the legal cannabis industry. So what are we? We're really a fintech, regtech company for the legal cannabis industry, or really any type of industry that requires a great degree of compliance and transparency. We really we have 2 core businesses that we've set up, and that's a real estate lending business in this cannabis space and a blockchain transaction network. So what's the cannabis industry problem? Well, here in the US, 34 states have legalized, but it remains federally illegal. So banking becomes a major issue. Consequences of that is that this industry is subject to major money laundering, a lot of tax evasion, a lot of crime, burglaries and robberies, and especially since it's cash-based, and what's come out of COVID is that dollars are dirty, and what do you do with these dirty dollars now? The other issue that we're solving is in the token industry, and I know we have a lot of great investors on here, and I bet some have participated in one of maybe these 11 firms that just got part of this class action lawsuit, or you might have been in the $1.7 billion Telegram industry and have been wrapped up in these token offerings that were really illegal securities offerings. And the consequences of that is especially if some were involved with kin, I would hate for the CEO or founder to say, hey, I'm going to fight the SEC on this until all your dollars are gone. But that's what I'm going to do. And we're solving that. And how did we do that? Series solution, 1 SEC filing, 2 securities. And we're doing this as a Reg A+ security. We will be the 3rd ever SEC qualified Reg A+ security. It will be made up of 2 securities, Series Coin, our stable coin for the transactions, and Series Token, the investor token for investors. How does it work? Series is really, our stablecoin network is really a BSA compliance tool. So we can identify all transactions to BSA requirements, answering who, what, where, when, how much, the nature of the transaction, and actually be able to remit taxes in real time using a digital asset. So how does it work? What makes our system really neat, especially in the cannabis industry, and if you look on the left here, fiat is only used to buy and sell an SEC qualified security. So that's the only flow of dollars. But once you get these stable coins, it goes into the Ceres network and everyone will have access to these transactions. Again, answering all those questions. We collect the transaction fees coming in and out of going from crypto to fiat. So how do our investors participate in this? As part of this Reg A offering, we're going to be able to do a $30 million token sale. Again, we're pending qualification, we're pending filing with this. How will this work? These are non-dilutive tokens. They're just revenue participation. They're going to participate in our transaction fees from that stablecoin business and from our Ceres lending business. If you want to look at that lending business, you can compare us to IIPR, Innovative Industrial Properties. 4 years ago, they raised $60 million to create a cannabis REIT. Today, they have a market cap over $1 billion. For that stablecoin network that I described, you can look, compare us to MJ Freeway, which is a seed to sale tracking system here in the United States. They have government contracts as their primary source of revenue. They were just acquired by a SPAC recently. They've traded up around $100 million market cap. We do everything that they do, except we add a payment system. A little bit of our financial projections. Our lending business is kind of like a stable fee. Transaction business based on a 0.5% penetration rate on the sales right now. And then eventually we see us start earning state tracking contracts here in the US. What we've done so far, 18 months of work with the SEC to get this form through and to become work towards a qualified asset. We're a finalist in the state of Rhode Island to administer, oversee, and regulate their blockchain system for their medical marijuana program. And then in December of 2019, invented to FinCEN to brief them on our cannabis banking transaction network. Recognized by Canaccord Genuity as one of the top blockchain companies. This came out in September 2019. Our team, I'm a West Point graduate, former Army Ranger. My co-founder is also a West Point graduate. Our CTO is one of the top Hyperledger Fabric programmers out there. So how to get involved in what we're talking about today? We're really looking for a lead seed investor, and it's a strategic seed investor who will give equity and options on the token sale that will take place. But we really want them to have connections in the banking industry, government, compliance, payments, and maybe even the cannabis industry. I think with a strategic partner and $1 million like this, we'll make a $30 million sale absolutely successful. There's my contact information, and I appreciate LA Token setting this up and all you investors being on there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Charlie. Appreciate it. Okay, next up, our last startup for the day. Ricky, are you with us? All right.
Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. Just a reminder to all of our judges. Hey, Ricky, just a reminder to all of our judges out there, make sure you are you have the form open, putting in your scores and feedback to the companies. And right after Ricky here, we'll get to Q&A. So without further ado, Ricky, welcome, the Managing Director of Limitless VIP. The floor is yours.
Hi. Thanks, guys. Entered a bit late. I do apologize for that. I've had some issues with technology today. That's never plain sailing. On the plus side, I've done a lot of research into what it is I need to be able to present to you guys today. Thanks for having me. And without further ado, I'm going to go over to the slides that I've prepared for you. If I can just share my screen here. Shouldn't be too long. There we go. Right. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so Limitless VIP is a lifestyle and entertainment agency. Obviously, of course, before the pandemic, that occurred, we were well on our way towards breaking into the tourism sector. At the moment, there's quite a lot of interest in South Africa, in Cape Town specifically as a tourist destination. It's a very beautiful part of the world. Of course, there has been, in terms of the virus, issues with people traveling at this time. So of course, that's been an issue in terms of how and when we will be able to get back to that. But of course, with things coming to an end eventually, there will be a point where people and governments especially will be investing into getting tourism back on track and so forth. So Limitless VIP is, as I said, it fits in with these unprecedented times for this reason in particular. It's a lifestyle entertainment agency. We have a charity through Masternodes. We have Limitless Island, which I'll get to eventually, just in case everyone's thinking, why is this guy talking about tourism in a time like this? We've got Limitless Radio. We've got biometric security. We've got, it's an inflation-free currency. I'm not going to give you too much information on cryptocurrencies and how they work. I'm sure you already know that. We have green currency. We are also in the possession of our own API services. So the history of Limitless VIP, it was conceptualized mid-2013, launched in early 2014. It was initially inspired by the Litecoin model, which was an algorithm, which is still an algorithm that is much less labor intensive. Well, it is intensive, but it doesn't need these high profile machines to be able to mine them. And then in 2019, we upgraded to the latest proof of stake and masternode system, which is a lot more secure with instant transactions. And obviously we have a very modified GUI, which is quite important. So we don't look and feel like other coins or other cryptocurrencies within the market. So the lifestyle entertainment agency offers airport transfers, armed security, airport transfers, those types of things, booking accommodations, restaurants, partners, bodyguards, and early adopters and investors get discount rates of up to 30%. So in terms of Limitless Island, which is ultimately where things are looking at the moment, because this was sort of the long-term goal of Limitless VIP. So it's a luxury resort style holiday destination with timeshare opportunities, a preferred airport on the island itself. So hopefully, potentially nice sized island, world-class golf course, and options for owning property for early adopters and investors at discounted rates of up to 15%. And that's pretty much where we are. And I'm not talking figures at the moment. I don't think it's a good time for that. I would like to put this information across to people and sort of see what kind of interest we have. And I'd also like to put some questions forward. So I do have a little bit of time. And if anyone's got some questions that they'd like to ask.
Well, thank you, Ricky. We're going to pause right here. We're actually going to get to each of our judges to provide questions and answers. Okay. So if you're all finished, I don't want to take time away. We'll
no, that's it. I'm done. That's okay. Try to make it as punchy as possible for you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Ricky, and thank you to all of our startups today for pitching and sharing your companies with each and every one of us. So next, I'm going to go judge by judge, ask for your feedback, allow you to apply that to all of the companies or ask any specific questions to any of the companies as you get your thoughts and scores in. Elena on the LA Token side team will actually begin totaling those up and will let me know who our winner is today. So let's kick this off. Haney, let's start off with you. Any feedback, questions, thoughts for any of the companies?
Everyone's still on, or? Oh, okay, so it's a question actually for everybody. In terms of just current milestones, I didn't get that from everyone, so if they could all just kind of just briefly say where they are in terms of revenue today, not just projections, and kind of like what are the key milestones they expect to be able to achieve in the next 6 months, or how does, what are the outlooks relative to the current situation?
So Ricky, let's start with you since you were the last to pitch, and then we'll go through everybody. So
yeah, so in terms of expected, but the tourism sector accounts for about 10% GDP. So being able to get part of that would be amazing. Obviously not at this stage, but then in terms of an island, if we got people to, an island where life would be a bit different, you'd have different types of processes in place in terms of making sure that we have the right type of people, obviously, with how we would look at to stay safe during a time like this. So we have biometric security, whereas you wouldn't be touching things too much. So, for example, one of the security things would be you would just look into the camera, scan your eyes, you'd be able to pay for things in that way. You'd be able to go through airports, which is already set up in that manner. So the currency would have biometric security integrated into it. And this would open us up to be able to look at how we would be able to penetrate such a market at this time, if that makes sense. So in terms of actual figures,
Ricky, we lost you. George, could you go on mute, please?
Can you hear me now?
Thanks. Yeah. So you dropped off right around providing your figures, if you could.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, in terms of anyone being able to give an accurate figure in what a return on investment would be, I mean, I did spend a lot of time yesterday sort of looking at how I would be able to map that out for you. And I mean, looking at past figures and looking at figures at this current situation, I found it very hard to be able to match that. And another thing that I'm trying to do is get advisors on board. So, we're not just looking for one person that would be able to come on board. We're looking for a group of people that would be able to offer advice, that would be able to offer more of a sort of nurtured and structured sort of guidance as to where we'll be able to go and how we'll be able to move things forward with regards to what it is we're trying to achieve, if that makes sense. So it would be completely off the top of our heads, or if I was going to say, oh, we're going to make this much money during a period that no one's ever experienced before, if that makes sense. That's
no. So my question was that you're pre-revenue right now. That was my question. My question is that you're pre-revenue right now. You're not generated revenue today, correct?
Well, sadly, what happened? Yeah, we're not generating revenue at present due to the fact that just as we were getting ready to launch with the lifestyle entertainment agency side of things, which was meant to fund the future development for Limitless Island, we found ourselves in this situation.
Got it.
And in fact, I just got back from Germany in the beginning of last month, on the 3rd of was it March? Yeah. So. There was just exactly when we were supposed to launch things and get things going. So unfortunately, we weren't able to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, and Charlie, same question to you. So pre-revenue, revenue, what kind of revenue numbers are you guys looking at? And let's try to keep the answers a little short and sweet, because I know everyone's got a lot of questions to get through. So
sure.
Yep.
Sure. We're pre-revenue. We're about to get our audit done and completed, where we'll publicly file. Be allowed to do a $30 million token raise. I think we'll have the same type of success that Blockstack did. If we're able to execute that by Q3, we look to have about $2 million in revenues for 2020.
Sorry, Kyle, and what project number is Charlie? Can you just
I was the third. I was the third one.
Okay.
Yep. We're going in reverse order here.
Okay.
So Charlie.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Great question. So next up is George. George, same question. Pre-revenue, revenue, where are your revenue expectations coming for the year?
Well, you got to understand that we have our token, and the token is accepted at a value of €5 per token. So we've had hundreds of thousands of real transactions that have taken place through the football app's token pay system using our token, the football coin. So they pay our merchants. They accept payment for goods and services, limited amounts per month in our token, and they put it back to investment. So per se, for revenue, the focus is growing the business, and ultimately all three parties gain with the value of the growth of the token. So we don't break out revenue, at least not yet, but our advertising revenue comes from the acceptance of our tokens, which is €5 per token, or $5.50 US per token.
Got it. Thank you. And Roman, same question to you. So Roman was the first company to go. So
Okay,
revenue, pre-revenue.
Well, we launched our first country, which was Venezuela, in late 2019. In December 2019, we got 150,000 users the first 2 months.
I think we may have lost you there, Roman. Okay, so we'll wait for Roman to come back on, and when he's back, we'll get a hold of him on that question. Let's continue through. So Mary, any feedback, questions, the like for our startups?
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Just a quick one. What is your go-to-market strategy?
So any company in specific or for everybody?
No, for everybody.
Cool. So Ricky, we're going to start with you again. Since Ricky was last startup, what is your go-to-market strategy? Again, short and sweet so we can get through everybody in time. Oh, Ricky, you're on mute.
There we go. Apologies.
Sorry.
So the go-to strategy for Limitless Vip as the entertainment agency was essentially we contacting travel agencies. We're dealing with travel agencies, of course, and then we have quite a few other things. We've got a limitless drone, which is quite a big industrial-sized drone that we have created a banner which flies up and over all the tourist destinations and areas in Cape Town. We fly the Limitless VIP banner. There's quite a few other things that we have in the pipeline as well that we've not managed to sort of roll out as yet. So we have branding that will be going out over all the cars, which we'll be doing, VIP transport, those types of things. So there'll be a little bit of branding. There's quite a big campaign that we were going to run, but we haven't been able to do. So it kind of like, puts a bit of a spanner in the works in terms of that. In terms of the island side of things, I'm hoping that, again, with advisors on board, we can work a way to get something like that done and best practice sort of on how we can roll a plan out in that sense. There's that respect for that particular product.
Got it. Thank you. Charlie, same question, go-to-market strategy.
Sure. So we have 3 main customers, again, regulators, banks, operators. We're right now looking to, again, working in Rhode Island on that RFP, working in the state of Rhode Island to implement a seed to sale tracking system with a payment system, and working with the Cannabis of Illinois Business Association. For the banks, we have about 12 banks that have been waiting for our SEC qualification to start implementing this stablecoin. And from the operators, we're looking at a B2B type transaction system to be able to test out and see how it works, where, again, a dispensary would do a inventory replenish to a producer. And in the lending business, we have probably about 12 projects that have right now submitted to us for underwriting. As we raise the cap and be able to lend out to them through our special purpose vehicles.
Awesome. Thank you. George, same question.
Yeah, very straightforward.
I'm sorry. I've dropped off. I don't know whether you heard me or not.
Yep, we're actually gonna come right back to you here in just a moment. No worries, Roman. In this new age of pitching online, more and more technical difficulties happen, so no stress. George, go ahead, and Roman, I'll come back to you with both questions.
Yeah, routes to market, there are 2, through our growing community and through our partners. Our partners are the merchants who accept payment in our token. They get listed in the app. They therefore get new customers, so it's good for new customer acquisitions. And quite naturally, the natural extension for our partners are now football clubs also to tap into the passion of their fans. So the routes to market are partners like businesses like Farmer Boys in Southern California, Kentucky Fried Chicken in Cyprus, and also now football clubs that we're in discussions with, as well as the organic growth of the community. Like I say, we now have more than 250,000 users globally, and that's grown. We haven't spent $1 on marketing, frankly.
That's great. Thank you, George. Roman, you back with us?
I am.
All right. So question one, what stage are you guys in? Very quickly, pre-revenue, revenue, and maybe a projection of where you're looking at revenue for the year.
Okay, so we are making a little money, but we're making some money. We went live early January in Venezuela with our solution over there. We wanted to have a test market, and we chose the worst possible place to do it. And we had 150,000 users on the first 2 months before Corona. Revenue went down a little bit after that, but we are ready to launch in the United States. We were expected to launch by July. We're going to launch in in May. We'll launch Europe around November. We expect to be cash flow positive on month 4. We should make about $3 million first year and about $30 million second year.
All right, and then go to market strategy, which was a question from
Yes.
Marion. You might have already answered it, but
Okay.
just to expand on it.
Okay, yes. We have identified several ways to go to market. We know that, and especially now in Corona, apps and websites have difficulties with debit transactions, and especially international transactions. In the Caribbean and in South America, there are no correspondent banking right now, no correspondent relationships, and people on those parts are buying in Amazon, in other websites, in other apps from around the world, and they need a way to pay. We can facilitate that. We have access to ACH, rapid funding, e-checks in the United States. We have our blockchain to transact internationally. So we're looking at a much wider picture than just one country. We're thinking worldwide. And our team has been done this before. Bernardo, which is a part of our team, created the payment network in Latin America for Citibank. So we know what we're doing on this.
Got it. Thank you. Massimiliano, questions for any particular company, all companies, any feedback that you have as well?
Sorry, my microphone. I can be much more, one question for everyone. Better insight on the way how they want to scale up, because, for example, circular economy, yes, you can scale up, but I'm not a big fan. I'm very much understanding how you can really, even if you make money, how after you can use this money, how you can monetize this token from outside the circle. And yes, and almost for everyone, how they think they can scale up and become global.
So great question. We all know that COVID is here. We all know that there's a pandemic. We all know things that have changed. But to the question is, how are you looking to scale your business even now with this adjustment of risk? So Roman, let's start with you since you just went. How are you looking to scale up and grow the business? What is the plan?
Well, that's a great question. And the fact is that even before Corona, we were looking to scale worldwide. We created our own Vip platform, which is a regulated platform for blockchain. We can do a lot of things with it. We're beginning to do payments, but we're going both in the retail and the wholesale side of the business. We have banking relationships in several countries. We have already signed agreements with Blade, Paystand, Yapily in both in the United States and in Europe. So it gives us an entry to about 9,600 banks in these regions. We have our own relationships in South America. So we have several banks over there. So we're scaling by creating a network that is cheaper, faster, and better than traditional payment networks.
Awesome. Thank you. George, same question. How do you look to scale going forward?
Great question. The reason we chose to build a social network app around football is because football is the biggest community in the world. It's actually remarkably underserved in terms of high usage for the broad football community, not just the fanatics. So like I say, 5 million minutes in the last 9 months, an average of 9.5 minutes per day per user. So because of that, in the current coronavirus, we've seen the growth of our user base rocket internationally. We now have users in America, in Greece, in Thailand, in Hong Kong, in Denmark, Germany, and so on and so forth. So now it's more of the same, plus now getting more partners on board. Like I mentioned, in Southern California, the Farmer Boys restaurant chain, they're partners of ours. And quite naturally, especially now, ideal partners are now the football clubs with which we're talking to quite a few. So that's how we will continue to scale.
Got it. Thank you, Charlie. Same question.
Sure, thank you. So we're using kind of the nail it, scale it type approach, focusing on some individual states as a use case type scenario, and then becoming a dominant player within that place. We're a unique system. We're probably the best system that you can have, the most legal system you have to be able to transact in the cannabis industry. But there's limitless industries that we, opportunities that you could use us for. One example that I used for that $350 billion PPP payment from the CARES Act, what happened if you used a stable coin like ours that issued the payment, be able to track who, what, where, when, how much throughout the entire system to who got what? It's an accountability tool. And there's, again, limitless industries that need this degree of transparency.
Great. Ricky, same question. And you're on mute.
There we go. I'm back in the room. So we were initially looking at franchising as an option within every major city and so forth. And then, of course, in order to get a user base growing, we've been around since 2014, so we do have quite a global audience already, quite a community, I think, and we've always focused on organic social media and that type of advertising. So to be able to ramp up advertising, I mean, most people are at home, everyone's at home, so to engage people on social media, whichever platform would be ideal at the moment. Getting some advertising in focus towards the social media sectors would be ideal to ramp up and to increase our user base and to gain attention. In a nutshell, that's
wonderful. Thank you. So, Tess, we've got you in my corner down here. What question or feedback do you have for everybody? Last round of questions here.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for really being resilient and continuing your vision and this endeavor. Entrepreneurship is not easy, but thank you for these quick 5-minute pitches to give us all insight into what you're doing. So being on both sides as an operator, as a founder, and then also on the investing side, which is intentional, so I can really understand both perspectives. I would say, as everyone did a great job, and a few advice that or feedback that I would love to leave here and then ask a few questions is, I would say if you do have notable advisors, do mention those, because a large part of this current environment is when investors think about investing, how are you going to continue the extension of being able to bridge funding in the event that fundraising in a traditional way is slowing down. So I know, one of the teams mentioned they're looking for advisors, and for the teams that, have not mentioned that, I think that's critically important, or even how you're going to approach, more, not the traditional way of thinking about fundraising, but also who you're tapping into in your ecosystem that's going to be able to help you with that. Fundamentally, I believe, really surrounding yourself with great champions, very hands-on, not just, light touch, but high touch advisors, or, and your existing investors are going to be very important. So I would say highlighting that in your 5-minute pitches is, very, it will be very attractive to the others who are, listening to your elevator pitch. Second, I would think that if you have a approach to extending your runway already, do share that. I'm sure everyone have been thinking about, how to manage burn rate, because everyone knows these are trying times. And the goal is to differentiate yourself, that you are not just pitching this in the pre-pandemic, pre-COVID-19 days. So I think really highlighting that is also critical, combined with the fact that my own personal feedback is thinking about a bridge round. Whatever you're traditionally planning on raising, and I understand a lot of this is tokenization because of the fact that I've been investing and been very entrenched in blockchain crypto the last 4 years. Been investing alongside some of the very notable funds like Pantera, Polychain, FPG, across the globe. A lot of the also Asian and European, complying with some of the emerging market investors. So, at that time, it was, the herd mentality, where if you see these notable names, then, this is a great project. It's very different now because of the regulation scene that has evolved. And, these great regulation need to be in place for mass adoption so that the average retailer can be able to access and invest. So I firmly believe, we are heading in the right direction. However, it is painful because, it's going to go through changes. And largely, I think, traditional founders are not going to be able to kind of think about fundraising, even in this crypto, even if you're a DeFi product, or if you're a wallet, or if you're exchange, as it was before. But that's exciting. And we need innovation, we need creativity, and we need new, know-hows. So that's why I think, really tap into great advisors who have the experience, exposure in not just blockchain crypto, but also in traditional VC investments is critical to help you navigate the scene. So I hope that was helpful. And just a few quick questions that if we still have time. If not, I think all the other judges on this panel and speaker have covered a lot of it, and the teams have actually emphasized it. But if there's still time, if any of the teams have IP or potential IP that they plan to be also focusing on, and maybe emphasizing a little bit about showing us awareness that you have a lot of strengths, but what is probably a core area that you need more help in, that will also help us feel how we can be strategically valuable as a potential investor.
That's a great, both great questions. And to the second point, I mean, we've talked about this in the panel before, building a relationship with your investors. It's not just to build up to that potential investment, but also beyond the investment, right? How the investors and those here on the panel, including myself, how we're going to work with you, how we're going to help you, and what more we can offer and do for you as well. So great question. Ricky, let's start with you since you're the last to pitch. IP technology, and then what area, one in particular, are you looking for a little bit of help and support in from investors?
Okay, when you say IP technology, can we just clarify that?
Yeah, so do you have any intellectual property or anything that's very proprietary to the product that you've built that's protected in some way?
Well, to be honest with you, in terms of technology, we don't have anything. We have an API that's been built from the ground up, which is our only sort of technology that's not open source, so to speak. Everything else is pretty much out there in terms of open source. So I would go with are we talking about branding as well, or just the technology side?
Yeah, just the technology. Just keep it to just the technology side, right?
Just our API is the only thing that's actually proprietary in terms of how we will communicate between apps, web, and user interfaces and admin panels, and so forth.
Got it. And then what is in a particular area you're looking for greater support in from an investor?
The support that we've been looking for in terms of direction and advice is along the lines of what we would need to be looking at in terms of what would be our aim, what we'll be looking to achieve in set amount of time, whether it be a year, 2 years, that would be doable in this current market. It's completely open to interpretation in terms of where we're moving with it. So I suppose that would be one of the key areas for me.
It's a great time for such advice. I mean, there's a lot of risk planning and
So
things.
I mean,
that
I think people that do a lot of investing,
Mm-hmm.
they would have a broader view of how and where things could be leading, in my opinion.
Yeah,
in my
definitely
limited opinion.
Yeah. Charlie,
Yeah.
same question
Sure.
to you.
Sure. So we have filed with the U.S. Patent Office a notice. We have a notice of assignment from them for using a qualified SEC security as a medium of exchange. Since the SEC hasn't kind of figured out whether a crypto asset like this is a security at all, and whether a stable coin could be used as a medium of exchange. We have filed that with the U.S. Patent Office right now.
Got it. And then area of support that you may be looking for from an investor.
Oh God, we'd love, absolutely. We'd love, when Tess was talking about having her relationships in reg tech and fintech, that's exactly who we want as a strategic advisor and leads on this. People who are experienced in the cannabis industry. I mean, you could put oregano and weed in front of me and I'd have a 50-50 shot at getting it, what was what. So I'm no expert in that. But again, we have a system that can fix them. So cannabis people, bank relationships to help explain this to them, and people close to actually really more state regulators and regulators in general who could use a system, because this is an all-encompassing system that could really, full chain of custody, full implementation, full network of whatever needs to be tracked and traced. Those relationships would be phenomenal for us.
Wonderful. George, same question to you. IP tech, and then also one area quickly that you're looking for support in.
Well, yeah, IP, I mean, between my fellow co-founder and me, between the two of us, we probably have 4,000 years of technology experience, right? I come from the traditional software industry. I used to work for one of the biggest software companies in the world for 29 years, blah, blah, blah. We got a ton of proprietary IP, a ton of it. Remember, in our app, social network, token payment system, secure messaging, forums, personalized forums, it goes on forever. We've got a ton of IP. We have patents applied. We've got some patents already received for some of the underlying technology. All great. Now, advisors, it's not just investor advisors. However, I will tell you, we seem to be striking a chord. Some people are taking note of what we're doing. We use AWS, right? Amazon Web Services. Out of the blue, we're getting credits from AWS for no reason other than we're a hot project. That comes from one of our investors that we're very close with who bought visibility. Clearly, we're in the world of football, so we are very close to announcing what we believe will be some very key ambassadors, advisors in the sport. So you can see it's IP, it's broadly, the finances there, but also the subject matter expertise of football, which addresses a 4 billion person population. Does that answer the question?
That does. Roman, same question to you. Last one.
Okay, so yeah, on the IP side, we do have a file IP in Venezuela, for instance. They don't belong to the World Trade Organization, and we have several pending patents over there. We filed IP outside. We created a whole new scenario for blockchain and its own or GitHubs, and we actually co-wrote and the blockchain regulation of the island of Antigua and asked for a banking license over there, which it has been granted and should be signed by the premier of the island after Corona. So we are very heavy on that. Our blockchain, it was created to be regulated, to help regulation with it. On the second question, we love help. We love help. I mean, like I said before, we all being in big companies in these areas for 20, 30 years. And I believe A people bring A people. And if an investor wants to participate and has expertise, test and fintech or any other the guys have things that can contribute, we'll be happy to work with them, because we want to grow fairly fast in markets that are not the ones that we are used to working. So yeah, we welcome the help.
Wonderful. Well, to each and every one of you, thank you very much again, and to echo what all of the judges have said, for sharing what you are building and what you have put together. We're very excited to hear more and see how your projects develop each individually. We do have the winner that I'll announce here in just a second, and after I do, we'll wrap up and then head on to our days. So without further ado, the winner of today's pitch competition is Charlie. Congratulations, Charlie. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Yeah. You got more than a golf clap, even though it just sounds like me. Everyone was clapping. So Charlie, thank you very much. Congratulations. Elena will connect with you afterwards on next steps there. But we're super excited. With that, I would love each of the startups, just where can everyone find you? What's your web address? And then we'll go through to the judges as well. So Charlie, as the winner, you get first and foremost. Go.
Sure. Well, thank you very much to everyone. And it actually it means a lot, because I was really impressed with the other three guys that were in here. I always learn so much from other entrepreneurs as they're pitching. So really great. We're located at www.seriescoin.io. There's information there. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter. I'll accept, all those type of things. And yeah, would love to follow up with any investors that are on here with a more detailed presentation, because we are looking for that lead investor in advance of this Reg A offering. But again, for LA Tech and everything, thank you very much. And Kyle, great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Great job to everybody. George, you're up next.
Yeah, George at thefootballapp.com. The football app, remember, is spelt the Spanish way. Can you see it on my screen now?
We cannot. You can spell it out. How do you spell it? George,
George at thefootballapp.com. TheFootballapp.com.
Awesome. Roman.
Yeah, well, you can find my webpage, www.sellpago.com, or my other or my token page, it's www.biitt.com. Bit. You can find me on LinkedIn. You have all my information there, and I would love to talk to any one of you and go into these type of things, because I don't think that I'm not good at talking in very little short of time. So if I get more time, we'll make a better presentation.
You did a great job. No need to be hard on yourself. You did a great job. Ricky, you're on mute.
There we go.
Where can everyone find you?
There we go. Is the screen shared? No?
It is, yes.
Oh, it is, yep. Right. So Ricky at limitlessvip.co.za.
Okay.
Limitlessvip.co.za. And then the currency is setting on vip.limitlessvip.co.za. We're also on every social network. Some of our company profiles been updated with some of our social channels. If you're interested in that.
Awesome.
And yeah, same thing. Thanks for listening. Well done for hosting this as well. And I'm sorry if it was a bit muddled up and there. I had some serious technical issues early on, and I don't think that's translated well in my pitch. But thanks for listening. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Again, thank you to all four of you guys. Great job to each and every one of you. We're all available here for follow-ups. You can connect with each of us if you haven't already, and then anyone off camera, or off Zoom, I should say, right now in our little Brady Bunch screen that we've got going on. Feel free to connect with each and every one of these startups. I'm sure they'd love to hear you, get feedback, and also connect in some of the areas they're looking for support. As we round up, Tess, I'm going to start with you. Quick shout out, and then also just where can people find you?
Yes, thanks. I'm highly active on LinkedIn, and also definitely do connect with me on Twitter. I'm starting to use that more. And you know, anything that I can be helpful with. I'm always interested in learning about all the different opportunities. I am a global investor, so I definitely love emerging market, from, you know, Southeast Asia to, you know, Latin America to Africa. And with my own experience being here in Silicon Valley and a lot of Asia exposure, I'm happy to, you know, help bridge and do what I can to help everyone here.
Awesome. Haney, quick, where can people find you? We're running way over at this point. So quick, where can people find you? You're on mute. Massimiliano, you're on.
I'm on Hani Said on LinkedIn, and then Hani at Bridge Tech Cap. And nice talking, everyone. I have to jump. I'm late for my call too. So thank you.
All right, Massimiliano, last one to close us out.
LinkedIn as well, so you can see my name and surname. Type it, and you find me. And HSMI.London. It's very easy to remember. Yeah, you can find me on my website and just email me.
Perfect. I'm Kyle Ellicott. You can find me at Kyle Ellicott on Twitter and on LinkedIn. Happy to talk to each and every one of you. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you to LA Token for hosting today's episode of VC TV, and we look forward to seeing you again.